by standing on the wall. Get your back up on the wall.
I'm Gary.
This is Austin.
And we are Midwest Mics coming back at you live from the UClick TV studios right here inside wonderful Hy-Vee Arena. You can maybe hear some of the basketballs bouncing and sneakers squeaking upstairs above us. There are some games and things going on, so slowly getting back open here at the arena. Always great to hear those sounds, especially with what's been going on. We got Ryan up there, as always, behind the scenes, running the soundboard, making sure everything looks and sounds good for you guys out there. How was your week, buddy?
Good week. It's like the same week.
Yeah.
Working, whatever, dealing with the COVID, dealing with the kid, but like you said, like things are kind of slowly returning to normal, trying to do so in kind of a safe fashion. But we got a bunch of guys upstairs playing games, playing ball, and things are getting going. We got a lot of pro sports that are kicking off into the month. A lot of guys are already practicing. So everything's kind of going. MLS, the tournament starts. We're recording. This is Wednesday, or no?
Wednesday the 8th.
Wednesday the 8th. Where the MLS kicks off tonight, which is really cool to see. Everything is kind of slowly getting back in, but just trying to be as safe as possible. So,
yeah, definitely. Welcome in our guest this week, Ryan Glasgow from Lincoln Prep. He is the head basketball coach and activities director at Lincoln College Prep right here in Kansas City. So, welcome to the show, Coach.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you guys, you've been at Lincoln Prep 3 years, heading into year 2 as athletic director, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
You guys have recently done some great things down there.
For sure.
Why don't you talk a little bit about, where Lincoln was when you got there 3 years ago, and kind of how you guys are trending up now.
Well, when I got there, most of the coaches had already been there, prior to. So building their programs up, they had already been in the trenches doing that well before I got there. Competitive for sure in a lot of areas, but young. So a lot of those teams were just starting to find their way and develop the talent that they had coming in from freshman year. Now after – and into the second year is when it really got, those dividends started to pay off for, football, cross country, wrestling, swim. I mean, all of the sports were competitive, and they have been for some time. Track and field, they've all been competitive for a while, but this last year was the year where multiple sports, had people push into, the postseason and stuff like that. So,
yeah, just this last year we were talking a little bit, I'm a football guy, so obviously I follow that very closely.
Right.
Coach Lowe won the Eric Driscoll Coach of the Year award.
Well deserved, for sure.
Yep. Kudos to him and his staff. They had a great year. Just ran into a really good Platte County team.
For sure.
There in the
definitely
end.
Tough Platte County team. I mean, those kids were hard nosed. You could tell they've been playing football together probably since Pee Wee League. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You could tell they were tight. And, I mean, that community was awesome. I mean, they really came through for us with the situation that we dealt with one of our players. Ran into a team that was a little bit better that night. But one hell of a season, man.
Yeah,
one hell of a season.
It was great, and we had actually Michael Rose-Ivy on last fall.
Yeah. My guy.
That's one of the the lost episodes we kind of like to say, because for some reason the recording didn't take, and
got to have him back, man.
Yeah, so we got to have him back on. But he was another great guest, and he was talking about some of that work that those guys were putting in down there. And,
right.
It definitely paid off. And moving into kind of your winter sports, both boys and girls basketball were making it through. We were talking just before we started here. With the boys, you made it to one game before the quarterfinals,
right.
So kind of that district championship.
Yep.
Ran into, again, another tough team. You had lost by 1 point.
Right. Heartbreaker.
Yeah, and this is, right as COVID is kind of starting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all those uncertainties and everything, and then I got to see your girls play in the quarterfinals, which
Right.
ended up being the last game.
Yeah, unfortunately.
of the whole
Right.
deal. Missouri deciding to call it off after that. So, just talk a little bit about your basketball seasons and the success that you had on both the boys and girls sides.
Before I go into winter sports, I got to say that Lincoln's football staff is the best football staff in the metro area, man. Hands down.
There you go.
Hands down. Those guys deserve a tremendous amount of credit for what they've built at Lincoln. I mean, to have 3 of the top players in the state, 3 Division I kids coming out of there from freshman year, man, those guys are some studs, man, and they deserve all the credit for what they've done with Lincoln football and making that program what it is, man. I'm lucky to be around those guys, Coach Lowe and his staff, Rose Ivy, Pitts. I don't want to leave anybody about all those guys, man. You know what I mean? They're awesome, man.
Yeah, Coach Lowe, I've interacted with him a few times at some different camps and stuff, and I mean, always super respectful, great guy.
Coach Fletch, definitely. Coach Fletcher, can't leave him out. So yeah,
definitely. He's built a really good staff.
He's
there.
done awesome, man.
I worked with Rose Ivy a little bit at a camp too. I think a couple springs ago, and just always had great interactions with him as well. So I don't know a lot of those guys, but I can definitely second that. Coach Lowe works his tail off. And the thing I know Michael does too.
Yeah, for sure, man. The thing about that group of guys is those guys could go coach anywhere. I mean, they could go coach in any program in the metro area, out of state, college, probably most of them, but they choose to stay where they are, man, and what they've built in the city, man. I don't think it gets enough respect and credit. Coach Lowe's not that kind of guy where he wants people to say that, so I'm always the one that's going to say it for him, man. I mean, that guy could go coach anywhere as well as all of those guys on the staff. So to have them at an inner city public school like Lincoln, man, it's a phenomenal thing, man. Really,
that's cool. You know what? Before we jump on to we can keep going on the football staff real quick. Before we jump to basketball, what are some of the steps we like to talk about when we bring coaches on? Talk about how if you take a program to the next level, what are some of the steps that you've seen those guys kind of implement to take your program up to the next level?
I mean, the first thing I notice is the relationships they have with those kids, man.
Yep.
I mean, it's like an extra son. You know what I mean? You see them with them. You see them interacting with them. They're always around each other. They do a lot of stuff together. They're engaged in their lives, not just in football. They know their families. They know their parents' names. You know what I mean? They're a first name basis type of situation. So, when you see that, you know that your kid is in good hands when they go play for those guys, because it's not just about football. It's a family love, tough love when it needs to be.
Right.
But what those kids are gaining from those guys is going to carry on for the rest of their lives, man.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of times when we have programs that have we know guys that have taken programs that are maybe doing okay and they take it to the next level, that's literally like the first thing they say every single time.
And I mean, they put in a tremendous amount of work too, man. I mean, we all know football coaches don't make high school football coaches or high school coaches, period. You don't make enough money to pay your bills or anything. So to be committed to that and develop those kids from a young age, Lowe's out in the community, all of them are out in the community, helping kids that don't even go to Lincoln. That's how much they love football, man. So, I mean, it's a great honor to work with that kind of staff, man, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, again, just kudos to those guys, Coach Lowe and his staff. I know I've seen a lot of different staffs over the years and met a lot of different coaches, and you can definitely tell the guys that are doing it for the right reasons.
For sure.
Every interaction that I ever had with Coach Lowe, he's definitely put off that vibe that
for sure.
He's doing it the right way for the right reasons, and so again, just kudos to him and his staff. So let's transition to talk basketball with boys and girls. And kind of take us through those seasons.
Well, I'll start with the ladies. I mean, they were awesome. Coach Jeff Atkins and his staff. I mean, Coach Atkins is a Hall of Fame coach, man. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit either. I mean, that guy's probably won 500 games in his career. He's been, St. Teresa's, Lincoln, so he's been several places. I mean, and he's a workhorse too, man. And those young ladies, back-to-back Final Fours. I mean, They're always really good. He's always sending young ladies to Division I schools to play. I mean, so to see them, get to another Final Four, unfortunately not be able to play, I mean, that's a tribute to that staff and, those young ladies' hard work. I mean, they put in a lot of time to get. That's not an easy thing to do, to go to back-to-back Final Fours like that. So tremendous season for them. He's got a young core of kids that'll be back this year that he's developing. He'll be just as competitive. Has a senior leader, Coris Davis, that'll be back for her senior year. She's a big-time player, so he's still got some ballers, some young talent, so they should be competitive again this year. But great season for them.
Yeah. It was definitely unfortunate, that they didn't get to go play that Final Four. We got to be there, UClick TV, and broadcast that game. Kind of made my color commentary debut.
They balled.
They did.
Day. I was very impressed.
They balled with how they played that day.
What's the kid from Odessa? What was that young lady's name? She's really good. I think she committed to MU actually.
Maybe
I know
Paige.
Maybe her name might be Paige. I'm not sure. Sorry if I don't have her name right. But that I
think you're right. I think it was Paige.
She's a player, and to see the Lincoln girls lock in and execute that game plan to take her out of the basketball game pretty much.
Yep.
That was one. I felt like that game was really going to carry them into winning a state championship because, everybody counted them out to lose that game.
Yeah.
So, and that wasn't even like it was really that close.
No.
They
kind of held them at arm's length, about the whole time.
For sure. So tribute to Coach Atkins, man. He's a good friend of mine. He gets those girls prepared, man. And those girls go out and ball, man.
And we've been there the last couple of years with you guys. I believe it was was it districts last year? I think we started with you 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
I believe so.
And got to know a lot of those girls' names, and haven't really got to know them, but a lot of your staff. That's where you and I came in touch with each other, and great program. And the girls got to go to the Final Four last year,
right,
or 2 years ago,
right.
Probably would have won it this year. You would say definitely would have won it. I know you would.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But it was just heartbreaking. Yeah,
it is. That whole situation is just a tough situation. It's for every school that made it, that boys, girls, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I told my guys, I'm sure we'll talk about them in a minute. I would have rather took the L and not made it because I would have not been able to sleep knowing that we made it to the Final Four. I'm too competitive to be in that situation and not get to go play the game.
Yeah,
it would have been better for me to lose, like to lose in the sectional round like we did to get to that game. We would have had to play a really tough Ray South team in that game with, of course, senior experience and some studs on that team. But for me, I would have rather lost than to say, oh, you're going to the Final Four, but you don't get to go play. But that's just me.
The thing that I kept kind of coming back to, as a competitive person and a coach myself, is like, to have, you work so hard for all these years, and put all the work into it to get the opportunity to play for a state championship, and then all of a sudden to have that ripped away from you. It would have been, and it's nobody's fault. It was a safe thing to do.
Absolutely. It definitely made the right
decision. Still, I don't know how I would have handled it.
Oh, it's tough.
Being in that spot.
Oh, and to be an AD or just a coach or just a person, you have to see those kids so dejected by that. What can you tell them? You can't go up to them and say, oh, everything. There's no way to make someone feel better about that.
And, for the seniors, it's like there is no next year. At least for your juniors, sophomores, freshmen, you can tell them, hey, well, we'll have a chance again next year.
Yeah.
But
now look at the situation we're in now. The seniors that we have now might, like going into their fall season, those fall season seniors. This whole situation has disrupted and I don't think we really look at it from a student athlete's perspective unless you're a coach. You want to, or you're attached to it like that. You might not step into the student athlete's shoes and say, wow, man, this is opportunities like we were discussing earlier. These are opportunities for these student athletes to use sport as a tool to pay for their education.
Yeah.
Parents, on a norm, don't have $30,000 a year. That's why their kids play sports mostly is for the life lessons and to get an opportunity to get your education paid for. And if you take that high school season away, you take millions of opportunities away from kids that have